What's up, mamas? I'm Rebecca. You're watching the Reseller Mom Show, and this is, I believe, episode number 4 of Drive Time with Rebecca. If you are just catching this for the first time, this is kind of like a chit chat about various reseller topics. It's really just me trying to make the most out of any travel time I have in the car, and it's not an official tips thing. It's not a screen share, obviously. It's just me having a chat with you guys, sharing some things that are on my mind that are reselling related, bringing up topics of discussion, and hoping that I can engage with you and that the community of reseller moms that are now here as part of the Reseller Mom Show can engage in the comments and learn from each other and just kind of get to know each other more. So I do read and respond to all of my comments, and I would really love to hear from you. So today's topic, without further ado, is the idea of creating a sourcing calendar so that you could potentially manage your cash flow and bulk source or batch source. And the idea of creating a sourcing calendar is not new to me. I've been wanting to do it. I just have not sat down to do it. And I may have mentioned it previously, randomly in another video, in that, you know that like your local church rummage sale, it always falls at a certain time of year. You know that the Style Encore clearance sale usually happens every so often. You know when your local favorite honey hole, whether it's Goodwill or an independent thrift store or what have you, maybe does a super duper sale or something like that. You know when the senior days are, when you might want to bring your mom with you or something. You know when all of those things are going on. And so like when I traveled to see my mom in New Jersey, I started keeping track of what the thrift stores are doing there, so that when I'm there, I can plan the time that we're going to have family time against the time that would make the most sense to go to a particular thrift store. And it's really just about creating efficiencies. If you're going to go thrifting anyway on a vacation, or if you're going to want to go to a rummage sale every July or whatever, why not in one place start jotting that down, and one place put all of that information so that you can kind of plan out your cash flow a little bit. Because what I'm finding now in this January, February time frame, because again, I'm coming to now in early 2020, is that I've really overshot my sourcing budget because there are some serious sales going on. I'm hitting them all. I'm on my way to one now. I know that there are at least 2 more clearance sales coming up that I plan to be going to, as well as some various other things. And then there's just general bins shopping, of course. And so I'm gonna clearly go way over budget. But these are things that you cannot just pass up. And so had I kind of plotted this out ahead of time, like I did a video on how to plan out your expenses, and I did that with like buying bags and poly mailers and business cards and all the different business expenses that I have. I did that. I planned it out all accordingly. Now it's just kind of coming full circle that I should really be doing this with a sourcing calendar so that I could budget accordingly and say, you know what, January, February, there's a lot of clearance sales. I need to make sure that I have more sourcing dollars available to me in those months, instead of my normal budget. Pair that against in the summertime when I go thrifting with my mom in New Jersey. I need extra money there also, because that's not bins, those are pay up Goodwill thrift stores. And so there's that. Then the rest of the summer, especially if Gio doesn't go to any kind of school or camp this summer, which we're debating about, my sourcing days are really limited. So I won't be spending as much because I won't be going as much because I can't. So this all kind of really circles around a video I did a while back, which was about designing your business around your life and knowing what those ebbs and flows are, and thinking about it ahead of time strategically, so that you're not like, it's summer, I can't source, the kids are home. Like, you should have been sourcing all Q1 and Q2 then. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you should have been doing that ahead of time and squirreling away those things in a quote unquote death pile, so that when summer comes and you can't source, you still have consistent things to list, so that you can consistently feed the beast, feed the algorithms, and make sales. I feel like, you know, again, I've said this previously, like in my old job, we did a lot of budgeting and planning out, like when we were going to a trade show, what client events we were doing, all of these things to say exactly how much I was planning on spending in January, February, et cetera, et cetera. And I haven't been doing that with my business. I've just kind of been like loosey-goosey going along. And there are regular things that you can be keeping track of. And so I feel like the overall goal with this is to say, look, for you, for me, you know, I can only speak for me. I don't know how it goes for you. You may only be able to just go to your weekly thrift store and that's what you do. And there isn't anything special or regular to plan for. It's just whatever I find at my Goodwill that day. And that's fine. And in which case, then you don't need to plan anything. But if you're someone like me that does utilize a number of different sources to source inventory for your Poshmark, for your eBay, for your Mercari, then you may consider creating a sourcing calendar. And perhaps now that I'm saying this out loud, maybe I will make one, and then that's a resource that I'll make available in my Etsy store for you. Let me know in the comments below. One, if you think this is a good idea. Two, if you already kind of do this and how you do it, or if you think it's a stupid idea altogether. And then maybe I'll make one, and that way I can make it available to you guys in the Etsy store, because that's really like where I'm putting all of my resources for resellers, and anything I make for myself, I make it available to you there. Everything is very cheap. It's always on sale. And I hope that you guys, if you feel like it's useful and something that you could use and don't want to obviously make it yourself, which you totally could do, but if you don't want to and you just want to buy it and help support me and the channel and make, you know, kind of cover my expenses of doing all of this, I would appreciate it. Anyway, so if you really just sat down and said, okay, January, I hit some clearance sales. February, a little bit as well. In July, I do my thrifting vacation trip, so there's a lot of expense there. Then August, I don't really source at all because it's back to school and all of this stuff. June, I don't really source at all because the kids are home and we're, you know, doing fun things. December is basically out because it's holidays and whatever. And so you could kind of identify over the months when you need to bulk source, when you can't probably source and you need items to have at the ready, and then decide to budget your money for those expenses and those extra sourcing trips accordingly. So I could bulk up my January sourcing budget, but then like my June sourcing budget could go a little bit lower. And that would really help you throughout the course of a year, especially if you have business, you know, checking and savings accounts. You would be able to kind of like squirrel away that money a little bit separately and say, like, that's my inventory fund. I bulked up on it this month, but I'm going to need it for next month because next month is going to be a heavy sourcing month, that kind of thing. Also, it just helps you, whether you need to plan for childcare or plan your schedule, you know, to hit those rummage sales that come up once a year. Or if your community does a big community garage sale, let's say, like I know ours is always in the spring and in the fall, our community does a garage sale. So whether I'm selling or not, that's when all the local garage sales are starting to come up, and I start plotting those down on the calendar so that I can make sure that I'm kind of reserving those Saturday mornings for garage sailing with Geo, you know, that type of thing. And really being able to, you know, I know that not everyone treats their reselling as a business, or at least doesn't do it to the crazy system system planning that I do, and that's okay. You don't have to. I'm just telling you what I do as a way to share a variety of ideas and a way to maybe get more organized and get a handle around how the money comes in and how the money comes out. Because as I get bigger and as I try different things, I am noticing that cash flow is more and more important and really can make or break you. And especially if you're a full-time reseller that relies on this to pay your bills, which I don't. I rely on this to pay some bills, but I don't rely on this to pay all of my household bills. Thank God otherwise I'd be in real big trouble. Thank God my husband, covers the main nut that we have every month. But I do think that if you're a full-time reseller and you've really not gotten a handle on what your cash flow looks like month in and month out throughout the year based on a variety of sourcing and things like that, I do think it's something to consider. And I really would like for these drive time videos to be where we can have that discussion, because again, I would love to know from you, because maybe it will give me ideas for things for me to do for future videos, or it just gives me a sense of what you guys who are watching are thinking about these ideas. Let me know in the comments below. Do you have a sourcing calendar? Would you like a sourcing calendar? If you don't have a particular sourcing calendar, but you kind of track and bulk source and then have, some dry periods and you manage your cash flow accordingly, tell me how you keep track of that. I'm very curious. I'm very interested. I would love to see your comments below. Go ahead and like this video on the way out. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you on the next one. Subscribe if you haven't. See ya. Bye.